All right, let's take a moment to just organize what we have here. So I want to just group up this node. And we'll call it view vectors. Or you can call it anything you want, actually, but just whatever helps you keep track of it. All right, so that's gets us started there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just turn these off for a minute, just because the scene is just so visually busy in the background. And what I want to do is introduce a new term. It's geometry does intersect. And I tried to look this up in the list. And Dynamo has changed, and I can no longer find where it is in the root of the directory. But there's this concept of determines if two pieces of geometry intersect each other. A really obviously important function. So especially when we're talking about lines in the solid buildings. So I'm going to put those lines in as the geometry, and then I'm going to delete that because we don't need that. And I'm going to look for the buildings that we input. And they're over here. There is solid over here. So I'm going to drag that over and put that in. So just so you review what we've done, I called up the magical term geometry does intersect, and we get the geometry of the vectors and the geometry of the buildings, which I just dragged over. And I'll go ahead and run this and see what pops out of it. And hopefully, if this is right, we'll get a list, and the list will contain trues and falses. So that means some of those vectors are hitting the buildings and some aren't. And so now that we have that first part of the tool, the concept, so to speak, we just need to separate them apart to find out what's going on with them. So we can do this as a filter by Boolean mask. One of the problems is, so the idea of filter by Boolean mask, let's just go ahead and I'll see if I can find that. I'm not finding it quickly here. So I'll just, once again, filter by Boolean mask. I want to pull this up just so we can start to discuss this kind of, process that's going on. So we get this Boolean logic of trues and false, and that's really kind of be the mask for the data stream that we want to push through. And the thing we want to push through is the vectors themselves. So I'm going to put in the true and false geometry, and then I want to pass through these vectors. So they're either going to be on or off depending on whether they hit a building or not. So they're either in is true or out is false. So the ones that are out is false will be the ones that are actually the good view, right? Because they're not striking anything. So let's just think about how we could maybe just visualize these, and we'll just go through a run for, so I'm going to make something which is just a way to visualize it. So we need to give these kind of a color to them. So I'm going to try to get back to my right screen here, and I'm going to copy this and then come over here and paste it. It's no longer the property color line. It is the good view line color. And we'll make it red and green together. And I'll plug in the out as the geometry. And we'll go ahead and run that and see what happens. All right, and all the lines are showing up because I haven't turned the preview off for the Boolean mask. And I have to see if we're getting anything out of this. We're getting a list of lists, but they're not previewing. So I maybe need to turn the preview on. Okay, so there we have the first idea of all the vectors that are getting through our model to clear space, so to speak. And we'll show the other ones. So let me go ahead and duplicate this. Now there might be a problem here, and we'll attach that in a minute, about the lists not being common lists to each other. So we're not including all of the components. But we'll make the ones that hit the building. I'll just pull the green off here, and this is I'll just double click on this and rename this poor view, for lack of another way to say it. And we'll put that into the geometry. And we probably need to turn the preview on for this. Nope, that's on because I copied it. And we'll go ahead and hit run. And now we have all the red lines that are striking the building. And so we could actually just kind of, let me hit escape so we get rid of this, and just play around with this to make sure that, in fact, what we're asking it to do, it's actually doing. So you can see all of those yellow lines are all the ones that aren't hitting the building. All the red ones that we see sticking out are the ones that are going through the building and striking the building. So we manage, except that I'm seeing, nope, those are hitting the building also. So I'm actually not seeing any vectors that are, in fact, in error, so to speak. Okay, so we're really pretty far along now in having a good idea of what the good views are, and now we're getting really close to being able to prepare this to run in a generative design way.